Beautiful Borgers couldn't be more excited than having a dear friend, a partner, Danielle, the founder of NOMU. How are you doing, Danielle?
Hey, Cyrus. So glad to be here. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very, very great. And I'm very excited to have you. You're a dear friend. We've been working together for a long time. I couldn't be more proud of your recent moves. Before getting into NOMU, maybe let's go for and understand a bit who are you, Danny? How did you get to go into Web3? What was your journey? Was SwissBorg and BorgPad, and how do you got to this fantastic idea of building NOMU?
Yeah, it's a great starting point. As you say, we've known each other for a long while. We had some great moments together at loads of events. It's been, believe it or not, exactly 3 years now. 3 years and 1 month that we've been working together. And I owe SwissBorg everything, to be honest. I started in crypto in 2018. As most people, beginning of the bear market, started for the greed, stayed for the philosophy, as most people do. My philosophy was that I thought a cashless society in which we moved in was dangerous, and I saw CBDCs on the rise. It was the first time that people were talking about it. I did something with a European bank on my side, failed miserably. Tried to make sure that if there was a digital euro, that it was going to be safe and privacy protecting. That didn't work out, and as a consequence, I wrote an email to Anthony, and he calls it still today one of the most embarrassing emails he ever received, because according to him, it was a very emotional email. He thought I was just a little junior guy, which I probably was. Just saying, crying like, "Hey, this didn't work out, but I love what you guys do. I'd love to have a chat." And then we had an interview. I had an interview with you as well. I started out really at the lowest level of product at SwissBorg, and since then we did some great stuff together. We rehold the premiums, we did the Series A, the thematics, a bunch of things in the middle, the whole UX of the app. It was an amazing time, and then right around last year, we saw an increasing pain that we felt ourselves. You guys, having done one of the biggest ICOs of all time in 2017, and we saw the whole go-to-market for tokens being completely wrong in the industry. And so we launched BorgPad as a remedy to that. To At the time, it was the peak of the low-float, high DV era, and we built something really cool since. Done some amazing launches in difficult markets. And we kind of keep building the on-brand image of SwissBorg through BorgPad. And now, as you said, like the last step that I'm now pivoting towards is NOMU, and that's the main topic of today's conversation. But NOMU was a very emotional step for me because it's the first time that I'm stepping a bit further away from working closely with Anthony, which really was my personal mentor for the last 4 years. And I said, I owe you and Anthony pretty much everything in my career, and the gratefulness I have for that is immense. And so now this is something that obviously we still work together, and he's a key figure within NOMU, but it's really a venture that gets a bit further away from the SwissBorg brand, at least, and something that is not as tightly close as BorgPad. So it was a long decision, but what we're doing with NOMU is something that heals something very profound in this industry, which is the whole issue with the over rotation of the market, specifically through meme coins. And I think what we're creating is the first generation of something really special, which we're calling social currencies.
I love it. Look, I remember very well that email, and I remember our interview too. I thought that you were definitely very junior, but you had this spark that few people have, and what Anthony saw in you, I saw it immediately as well. Is that it's someone that would build resilience and will be able to do that extra and dream and eventually get to that dream. And throughout SwissBorg, you've had many different product roles. You've done great things with premiums and with the thematics, and then you moved to BorgPad. And I remember when you moved to BorgPad, I was like, okay, this is good for BorgPad. It's not great for SwissBorg. Are these guys going to be able to go there and do it very well? And it started very well. Then it didn't start. Then I saw the meme season happening, if you remember, in early 2024. And I was very, very clear about, guys, the Palm.fun. Palm.fun didn't exist, by the way, but the Palm.fun of memes would eventually exist. And I think that was a big miss from our side of BorgPad, is how to just have a permissionless type of a launch pad where anyone could be able to launch it. But it's always been in our DNA though that we hate the bullshit. We hate the noise. We hate scammy projects. And that's not what crypto is even today. A lot of people love not scam, but just a very short term return on whatever it comes from. If it's NFTs, if it's a meme or whatever, there's a very huge mentality of having a trading mindset and not investing long term. It's a bit like just a guy just wants to get laid every night with a different girl. That's pretty much the same thing that you have in crypto. Um, but Anthony was saying like, yeah, but we can't do memes. Danny is really something and profound and wants to work with projects that have real sustainable business, but as all have something that has a bigger, huge impact. I was like, yeah, but for BorgPad right now, I say it's the meme season's going to happen. And the beauty is that you guys have been able to recruit though great projects and through BorgPad. I think there's a lot. There's obviously some that won't be here in the next year or so, but that's the story of,
Yeah.
if you do crypto time startup, then
It,
there's a very still possibility. Startup doesn't have more than 2 years. Crypto doesn't have more than 2 months or 3 months because it's a we call these like dog years, right? So 3 months is 2 years. So the essence which I like about where you went from trying to change the world with something beautiful, stable coin that would not be nasty like a CBDC, go throughout multiple teams in SwissBorg and be able to understand all the different pain points of building products, creating communities, fostering communities, then going to create BorgPad with Anthony and to look at the whole industry, try to pick what's the best candidates, how to shape them and create better products, successfully launch these liquidity bootstrapping. Now you graduated into founder of your own thing, and that will be sustainable. That will be creating communities, that will be fostering communities, and that will have a real attachment to a sustainable business model. So couldn't be more excited than going through NOMU.
yeah. It does really feel like it's a full circle, Sai. And, still to this day, one of my favorite sayings of all time is one that you shared with me a couple of years ago, which to your first point was life's not about um, weathering the storm, it's about learning how to dance in the rain. And that's what resilience is, right? I think that's one of the main key takeaways from SwissBorg. I've learned so much from my experience there. And it does feel like it's culminating now into NOMU. And the irony of starting, as you say, from CDCs into something that is the next evolution of memes, despite my natural disdain from memes, is something that I think is the type of irony in life that makes something magical happen. So, as you say,
But
NOMU
I don't
is
think you were. I don't think that you were. You didn't like memes. I think you just were not excited about launching shit things that would not stick.
exactly.
Yeah.
I didn't like, as you say, the extremely short-termist and vain, shallow aspect of memes. There's something very beautiful about memes, which is the community creation aspect of it and the fun mimetic entry point that's super, super powerful because it's something that it's a common denominator on which you can unite people, truly.
Hmm.
But then the way it was executed on Pump That Fun, and you're right, we should have executed on that as you tend to be. You should have executed better ahead of time, but it was a moral almost decision that we took. Now we pivoted since, and I'm really proud what we did at BorgPad, but clearly that was a great opportunity. The counterparty of Pump Fun is that, I've looked at the stats just a couple of days ago, and they launched, I think, in total of the last, just in 2024, 15 million tokens that graduated, of which now 95 are extinct, and the average lifetime of a meme token that was launched on Pump Fun was 12 days. That's the average, 12 days. It's crazy. So is that kind of like myopic view of the market and of building products, and that's really destructive and extractive. And that's kind of what the refusal was about. Should we have executed on it? Probably yes. But now kind of the way I see what a social currency is, what we're doing with NOMU is not something that replaces meme coins, but rather the next logical step for them, which is and amalgamate somewhat, but it's the regroupment of the best of both worlds that what works in crypto. The first cycle of strong utility tokens and the last cycle of meme coins. You combine the memetic fun part of the meme with the actual true purpose and long-term value creation of a utility coin. And then all of a sudden you have something really strong. And that's a social currency. And I think NOMU will be the first generation of that. And we're building with an amazing team, thanks to SwissBorg as well. We partnering up with the Pudgy Penguins and have Luca with us. So we're really in the best possible scenario and circumstances to make this happen.
So tell us a bit about the story about this beautiful Numu. How did it come, and what's the big mission behind it?
Yeah. So NOMU, I'll start you with the law. NOMU lives within the Pudgy Penguin ecosystem. It's a fish, and it starts as a fish, but tomorrow will be the biggest community fund in the world. So the story of the fish and the Pudgy Penguins is that they're all NPC characters. They all get eaten. It's just food for the penguins, right? Well, guess what? There's one fish that isn't food, and that's Nomu. Instead, he sees that in crypto, the traders, they're the ones who get hooked. They get fried and they get served on a dish. And he says, well, instead, I'm going to be the one who feeds the trenches. And we recognize that through the whole dilution of in crypto that happened in the last cycle with 15 million tokens being created like crazy. Well, the reality is that the original WAGMI that we all came into crypto for it's
Hmm.
not gonna work. Like just mathematically, we're not all gonna make it. However, Noma recognizes something else and he says, well, instead of WAGMI, the new slogan is Wagyu. We're all gonna eat well. And the way that works is because we create a community mechanism that distributes value rather than extracts value and plays in the hands of a few. And so the whole idea of the NOMU ecosystem is that we're going to feed the trenches by allowing communities to own, license, and fund through NOMU the other ventures, either through the IP of NOMU or through the treasury of the DAO, that is going to create revenue through the activities. So you can imagine the same way that Star Wars creates a Darth Vader figurine and they sell it in, Toys R Us back in the day, whatever it might have been, and then Star Wars gets a percentage of that, but it could have been funding a new business. That comes back into revenue of the DAO, and then the DAO directly re-puts that value back in the token, either by buying assets and you own the DAO, or by direct buyback and burn, perhaps a combination of both. The point is that all of a sudden you have a meme coin that's a fish, but tomorrow it's a asset that perceives direct revenue from an IP that's owned by the community and flows straight back into it through buyback and burns or through the net asset value of the underlying DAO which you own. So it's a very simple mechanism that again starts as a meme and ends up being as potentially one of the biggest RWA plays native coming from crypto that we've seen so far. And so the vision is very profound. It's very fun. We've just started a couple of weeks ago. This is now a second week, I think, and people seem to be very excited. We're growing the community organically, and yeah, it's a very good start. I'm very glad to see how excited people are about it.
So essentially, Nomu is the Neo from Matrix that took the red pill,
Yes,
that doesn't want to fall into centralization and into short-term gains and get ate by the, let's say, the world. And the product that's behind is real people that will be buying and eating sushis or different restaurants that has the Nomu character and believe in this new fish, and we'll be giving essentially kickbacks to the DAO that will create value to the DAO, and that could be
and
by
therefore the
forms
tokens.
of buyback of tokens, burning the tokens, or whatever the
Exactly,
governance remains around the Nemo
exactly.
protocol.
That's a perfect illustration. And as you mentioned, we have a sushi is a good example because it's actually so one of the key advantages that we have with Nome as well is that we have an amazing founding team. Anthony is tangibly part of it. But beyond that, one of the guys that is a co-founder, his name is Jordan, which you know yourself as well. And he
Mhm,
was
good
like
friend.
exactly. He was like I mean, you were there at the time with him. I didn't meet him in his glory days, but from what I hear, he was a king of London for a while.
Okay. Any party I would go with him, I'll get in for free and be extremely well introduced. Let's put it that way.
I can imagine. So for everybody who hasn't met Jordan, he's this tall, handsome, Idris Elba kind of looking, feeling guy who just knows everybody in the food and beverage industry for sure, but beyond. And so we have an amazing entry point to bridge Web3 to Web2 through him. And that's what we've already been doing. And so the amazing thing with NOMU is it's not just an idea, it's already tangibly here. So we already signed a contract with one of the biggest sushi chains of high-end sushi in France and Switzerland called Côte Sushi. For those who listen from us from the Francophone region, they have 100 stores across the hexagon in Switzerland, $100 million of revenues last year. And so we're going to start creating with them a happy meal, a NOMU happy meal, so to speak, but a NOMU high-end sushi box where, as you say, the image of NOMU is on it. And so we license the image of NOMU. The pitch for them is very easy. Well, we can activate a community. You're going to get foot traffic. You're going to get visibility, loyalty through all the mechanisms we put in place. And as a country, we get a revenue share from the sales of sushi. And guess what? The revenue share goes back to the token holder. So it's a loop that's closed, that's very simple to understand, and a flywheel that works beautifully. And it starts with sushi, but it really can expand to anything. And the ultimate vision that we have 2 years from now is to say community members themselves will be able to propose these IP licensing or the funding opportunities, come to the DL, come to the platform we create and be like, hey, this is my deal. This is Cyrus's new building in Geneva. This is how much it's going to cost. This is what I ask from NOMU. This is what it's going to bring back. And then through a futarchy mechanism where essentially it's a poly market on will this make the price of the token go up or down? People can vote, yes or no. And if it goes through, we unlock the funds, we unlock the image, the rights, and things come into action. And you can have then a NOMU in every single country of the world with local federations putting forward this mechanism, and it all comes back to a global DAO, and the revenue share comes back to the token holders. So it's really an amazing, deep but simple mechanism, and we're starting tangibly through Jordan with Kotsushi, and we're going to expand it for the first period ourselves to show what's possible, and then we're going to let the community take over the hands, and that's the ultimate vision, I think, of Web3, because at the end of the day, what's Web3 if not a coordination layer that allows frictionless bottoms-up coordination, right? And so I think with NOMU, we fulfill one of the first principles and primitives of Web3 that has been ignored for too long. It's long-term thinking, it's profound, it's community-centric, and it's bottoms-up. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So we're starting with this fish, but hopefully it's going to become the most significant fish of the industry and beyond.
I think which is very interesting here is that we are really captivating what we do best in crypto, which is creating a token, creating history around this token, creating some hype around the token, create an on-chain process with governance that this is still not everywhere in every protocol whatsoever. At least it's within SwissBorg and many other great projects in DeFi such as Aave or others. Then what you move from that is how now you create a business model. Because most people in crypto don't really have a business model, right? There's DeFi has mostly business models, but not even all of them. And then most of them is just like, oh, let's go to the moon with this token, right? And here, what is interesting is that you captivate all that, you put on top of it a meme, because at the end, if you look at children, they see cartoons. We all love cartoons, right? We all love different small pieces of culture, and this is giving even more value to it. So this is about the meme thing, and now is how do you connect meme to RWA, right? And everyone know that RWA is the biggest thing of tomorrow, because real world assets has already been confirmed as an asset class. But making it now digital and putting it on chain, that's really where you create the most value out of it for multiple reasons. We didn't even talk about it. So here is, you then go there and you bring this RWA in, and people consuming these happy meals of NOMU right now will be eating the best sushis of all time, and maybe more and more be liking that fish without realizing they're actually funding the DAO there behind it. And through that, maybe they'll get more people's like, oh, well, what is this whole fish about? And it's like, oh, there's an ecosystem. I could vote on this. I could do that. What if I could maybe take part of it, participate, buy more tokens, and actually have the NOMU in coming into my restaurant, into my football club, into my nightclub, into whatever you want, and be able to participate to grow that beautiful fish, which is about, again, thinking out of the box and creating value for itself and for the community. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I had I had the rough picture of it, but I was not as excited as I am today. Um,
It's gonna be a cool thing. Your resume is exactly what it is. If I can try and encapsulate it in one sentence, it's uniting or combining investors, users and investors, consumers and investors as one and the same person. Because it can go even further beyond IP licensing. At the end, is if you were tomorrow a restaurant like Good Sushi, to take the same example, how much better would it be to open your next franchise, your next restaurant, by having an investment from your top users than from a bank for who you're just another number? It makes so much sense to combine both worlds, and I think Web3 is uniquely positioned through the tech itself. That's one of the good things it does to make that happen. Permissionless, bottom-up coordination, users, investors become one and the same person, and you create something really beautiful from that. And then governance, it's just another coordination layer that comes in there. Indeed, it's something that's very easy to pitch, to have people to understand. And as you say, the meme is the culture layer on top of it that combines a lot through it, and through that you just create something that's so simple and easy to understand. It's, for me at least, the combination of a lot of things that I learned at SwissBorg and that you guys already do so well. And that's, I think SwissBorg is uniquely positioned. So it's definitely going to feel like SwissBorg. We're always going to get the SwissBorg community at the very core of it. You and I haven't discussed too much about it yet, but I think you and Anthony already discussed a little bit how we're going to get the SwissBorg community involved, and how we're going to make sure that value perception is also available for SwissBorg users. And I'm very excited about that.
100%. What's the next steps? How can people get involved? Obviously, there's a Twitter account to follow. What else can people, if they want to be curious to look more into it, is there anything that they could get involved in a better way?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the big thing for us is the TG that should happen very soon, but I don't want to speak out specific yet. I just want to explain why we're going to TG soon. For me, and I have very strong conviction about this, there's two moments where a project should TG: either day zero or when you have product market fit. That's it. Any other time you're artificially trying to make something happen, that shouldn't happen. So we're going to TG from day zero at a super low valuation. It's going to be like Borgi for those who participate in that. $1 million, free diluted valuation, no investors, all self-funded. It's pure. There's nothing. It's just a simple, fair launch as it is written in the books. So that is what we're preparing for right now. Until then, we're going to reveal all of the story, the vision of NOMU over the next coming weeks. As you say, there's a Twitter, there's a Telegram. We haven't officially announced a Telegram yet, but it's not that hard to find. So if you want to dig a little bit, you will find it. You'll be one of the OGs. You'll get an amazing NOMU picture, custom made for you. There's a bunch of cool things happening on the Telegram. And then we're going to release the first product that's going to allow you to interact with NOMU, feel what he's about, how you can introduce yourself to him, prove your value, he proves your value to you. It's going to be something very cool, but it's all happening on the Telegram. So today, the single best way to get involved, to make sure you don't miss this meal, to speak in NOMU terms, is to come and join the Telegram, and go find it throughout that Twitter. I'm sure you'll be able to.
Cool. Well, guys, Danny, very nice seeing you. As always, make it fun, fair, and community-centric. And let's bring NOMO to the next billion people.
I wouldn't make it any other way, Si. Thank you so much.
Thank you.